I wrote a musical. We got 4 musical numbers, multiple characters, and a cursed ring that brings destruction and misfortune upon anyone who wears it. It's showtime. One day, the gods Odin, Honir, and Loki embarked on a journey exploring the dwarf lands. Seeking rest, the gods stopped at a nearby waterfall where Loki spotted a lonely, sleeping otter, adorned with the most beautiful fur he had ever seen. Of course, a mischievous and cruel idea sprouted in Loki's mind. Loki spotted a stone and hurled it at the sleeping otter, killing the animal for its beautiful fur. Once rested, the gods resumed their journey and decided to visit Hridma, the dwarf king, whose home was decorated with glittering gold and jewels. Sensing the dwarf king's keen eye for exquisite treasure, Loki, brimming with pride, showed the king the otter's fur. The king, however, erupted with rage because he recognized the otter's fur to be that of his shape-shifting son. The king arrested the gods for his son's murder with the help of his 2 sons Fafnir and Regin, and after some thought, the king instructed Loki to fetch enough gold to decorate the stretched out otter's skin after each strand of hair was plucked out as a tribute, in exchange for the god's freedom. Luckily, Loki possessed knowledge of a location where glittering jewels could be found. He had heard whispers about a rich, shape-shifting dwarf named Andarvi who lived underneath a beautiful waterfall that safeguarded his treasures. Among the treasures was his most prized jewel, a magical golden ring that would grow the wealth of anyone who wore it. Loki travelled to the waterfall where he hid until he found the shape-shifting dwarf as a fish. Loki threw his net and trapped the dwarf and demanded Andarvi give him the gold in exchange for his freedom. Loki was pleased with the treasure, but his eye spotted something else. The magical ring was calling to him. Despite the treasure being plenty enough for the ransom, Loki insisted Andarvi hand over his magical ring. In response, Andarvi cursed the ring, ensuring that whoever would wear it would have destruction and doom brought upon them. With this knowledge, Loki returned to the Dwarf King.
As promised, sire, from gods to king, in exchange for freedom, a ransom I bring. Bring, a ransom he brings for our king, Ka-ching, to pay for their sins. These jewels are the finest, you've honored my son. Now hold out your hand, let's consider this done. Wait, what's this? A ring you tried to hide from me, Loki. Your mischief has finally come out to play.
Hridma meticulously examined the otter's skin until he discovered a solitary strand of unplucked hair. Alas, a place for the ring, and it would now belong to him.
In exchange for your freedom, Loki, the ring. As you wish, sire, a ring for a king who knows what good fortune it shall bring.
Mischievous Loki handed over the ring, well aware of the doom it will bestow on its wearer. The ring slowly cursed Hridma, and his 2 sons, Fafnir and Regin, watched as their father grew mad with greed, refusing to share his wealth with either of them. Destruction was well on its way when the ring's call was heard by Fafnir. In the middle of the night, as his father slept, Fafnir killed the king. The ring and the treasure were now his. But to keep this treasure safe, Fafnir fled deep into the mountains where he slowly turned into a dragon, thanks to the power of the ring. Back at the kingdom, Fafnir's brother Regin set out to avenge the death of his father by seeking out the aid of Sigurd, a renowned hunter.
I'm seeking the mighty hunter. Have you heard of whom I speak? A man to avenge my father. The hunt for justice begins. Excuse me, sir, are you the man who kills these? If so, don't judge by what I seek tonight. Go on. Yes, sir, I am the son of the murdered king. My brother must pay for his sins tonight. Sir, let's discuss the payment first. A prince like you must have such gold to share. Well, my brother dwells deep in the caves with gold enough for a city to pave. Consider a third yours, okay? No dwarf lives in those caves, and that gold of what you speak of is guarded by a ferocious dragon, not a dwarf. Small detail, my brother is the cursed dragon, an easy task for a warrior like yourself. Yes? Whoa, whoa, whoa. A dragon with a human mind is there no cure to save your brother's life? Sir, a frightened warrior, I'd never seen the day. Bad for business if this story were to get away. Sir, serve me his heart on a platter to feast, and you will be known as the mighty slayer of beasts. For a third of the gold, do we have a deal? Make it half and consider this done, sir. I am the mighty hunter, I'll avenge your father, swift as the breaking thunder. Let the hunt for justice begin. I am the mighty hunter, fighting for my glory. You won't forget my story once you've heard of me. I am the mighty hunter, hunting down my story. Slaughter the mighty dragon, a hero I will be. He is the mighty savior, fighting for his glory. We won't forget his story once you've heard of me.
As requested, Sigurd began to cook the beast's heart. But never having cooked a heart before, he was curious. He dipped his finger into the blood and had a bit of a taste. Suddenly, he was able to understand the speech of birds.
We are the birds of the night, please listen to a warning. The man who promised you wealth and gold will steal all of your glory. Why say a thing that isn't true? The deal was made and I held true. He sits the heart of the dragon slayed in exchange for gold and a hero's name. Do you think the man who paid for you to slay his brother won't claim your actions as his own? Your name will never be hero known. The only way out,
Yes.
to claim your gold,
Yes.
is to kill him. Now.
Under the ring's influence, the bird's speech rang true to Sigurd's corrupted heart. He grabbed the blade, still bloodied from the dragon's blade, and he killed the dwarf prince. Another one dead. Are you enjoying the show? The cast is just exceptionally talented, aren't they? I think they're really, really good. But it is time for Act 2. We resume with our troubled hero, Sigurd, who rides deep into the mountains to find the sleeping Valkyrie, Brynhild. For the birds told Sigurd the story about a Valkyrie who defied Odin and as punishment was locked in an eternal slumber, imprisoned within a tower encircled by an unyielding ring of fire. Sounds pretty dangerous. She could only be awakened by the most fearsome warrior and would be awakened by the one who rescued her. Up to the challenge, Sigurd rode through the fire, climbed up the tower, and found the Valkyrie Brynhild waking from her slumber. The two spoke for hours. Sigurd told her about him slaying the dragon, the whole deal about that, but he wanted to know about Brynhild and what he could do to gain her love.
Do you hear the thunder inviting the change that the storm bring upon us, a bright morning day? I am the daughter of a woman who knew the strength that was needed to fight for the truth. I am a shield maiden, Brynhild's my name. Not many can match me in a sword-wielding game. I vowed I would marry my breaker of chains, but do you have the strength to love my heart? Love my heart.
Yeah, he did. The two fell madly in love with each other and were vowed to be married. So Sigurd rode to the nearest town to start arranging their wedding, but stories had already spread about his mighty triumph against the dragon. And this caught the attention of a powerful sorceress, Brynhild, the wife of the King of Burgundy. She was impressed by Sigurd's reputation and she wanted him to marry her daughter, Gudrun. Using her charms, she invited Sigurd to a banquet, but a problem arose when she found out that Sigurd was already vowed to be married to Brynhild. This didn't go down well for her, so she conjured a magic potion, slipped it into Sigurd's drink, assuring that he would forget all about Brynhild and fall in love with her daughter, Gudrun. Scandalous. So of course Sigurd fell in love with Gudrun and the two were married and all was happily ever after. I don't think so, because as a wedding gift, Sigurd gave Gudrun, his wife, the cursed ring. And of course, destruction and doom was well on its way again. In the meantime, Brynhild remains in the tower because Sigurd has forgotten about her, but Sigurd's brother-in-law Gunnar has heard about the Valkyrie and is convinced that he can win her love. So, Sigurd accompanies Gunnar to rescue Brynhild, but Gunnar realizes that this is a really difficult task for him and he can't go through the Ring of Fire. So the evil sorceress once again does a magic spell and we have a Freaky Friday moment. Sigurd and Gunnar swap bodies and Sigurd as Gunnar rescues Brynhild the Valkyrie and the two wed. Brynhild has been tricked into marrying Gunnar, the brother-in-law, when in fact it's actually Sigurd. Now that they are all living in the same kingdom, Brynhild and Gudrun spend time to get to know each other. One day the cursed ring's influence was influencing. The two women get into an argument and Gudrun spills the beans that Brynhild was tricked into marrying her husband and that it was in fact Sigurd all along. The betrayal. Everyone knew and no one said a thing to her.
Like a fool, my heart is not a toy to share. You forgot the strength in me. I bought your lies, I thought you cared. Now I don't want you. I don't trust you. I don't want you. I don't trust you with my heart. With my heart.
Later that evening, Brynhild took her sword and killed Sigurd and then later took her own life. The ring continued to bring misfortune and destruction upon many others until one day it was hidden deep in the caves as people started to get suspicious about this ring, hoping that it would never hurt a human soul again. Okay, we have things to talk about. Firstly, the exploration of human greed and disregarding the harm that your actions can bring onto others for self-gain is very well done and I like that about this myth. Secondly, if you have heard this myth before, you may know that there is a different ending to this myth which I actually prefer to this one. The alternate ending is that Gudrun, the wife of Sigurd, is wearing the ring. The ring starts bringing out her insecurities and convinces her that Sigurd is having an affair with Brynhild. She then convinces one of her other brothers to kill Brynhild and Sigurd because of the ring, and I think it's just a really clear way of showing the negative effects of the ring, and I just think it's a more interesting version, but I went with this version because it's the more well-known one. So let's talk about Lord of the Rings for a moment. As a massive Lord of the Rings fan, I was curious about this myth because I wanted to know how much it inspired the original story. Apparently J.R. Tolkien was very interested in Norse mythology, so perhaps it was an influence, but I think Lord of the Rings obviously stands on its own. And I've done another mini musical from Greek mythology, so if you like that, feel free to check that out.